It's 11:40 at night. The roads are empty. Your headlights are the only ones on the street. Then, out of nowhere, blue light floods your mirror. Your chest tightens before your brain even catches up. You haven't done anything wrong. You know that. But your body doesn't seem to care what you know. It reacts anyway. You pull over. Window down. Cold air. A torchlight sweeping across your dashboard. And then, calm as anything, the officer asks a question so short it almost sounds like nothing. Who owns this car? 5 words. That's all it takes. Here's what nobody tells you in that moment. What you say next isn't really about the car at all. It's about you. About what you know, what you don't, and whether the next sentence out of your mouth quietly turns a 30-second stop into something that follows you home. Most drivers never think about this question until they're already standing in it, headlights behind them, heart pounding, deciding in real time how to answer something they were never taught to answer. By the end of this, you won't be one of them. But first, you need to understand why this question is far more dangerous than it sounds. Here's where almost everyone gets it wrong before the officer has even said a word. They assume ownership is simple. My name, my car. Someone else's name, someone else's problem. Clean, simple, done. It isn't. In plain English, the law separates 2 things most people have never had a reason to separate: the registered keeper of a vehicle and the owner. They sound like the same thing. They are not. And that small, quiet gap between them is exactly where this question starts to bite. That's not the real problem, though. The real problem is what happens the second you open your mouth without understanding that gap. Let's say you're stopped. Let's call you David. David borrowed his cousin's car for the week. Nothing unusual, nothing shady, just a favour between family. Routine stop. Torchlight. The question comes, who owns this car? David wants to be helpful. He always does. So he talks. David. Oh, it's not mine, it's my cousin's. He lets me use it whenever. We don't really keep track of who's on what insurance. I think I might be covered. I'm honestly not sure. Watch what just happened in that one breath. David didn't lie. David didn't do anything wrong. But David just handed the officer 3 new questions he never needed to ask. Is this vehicle insured for this driver? Does the driver actually know the terms he's operating under? Is there a chance, right now, in this exact moment, that David is driving without knowing he's uninsured? A 30-second stop just became something else entirely, and David did it to himself, one uncertain word at a time. Here's the detail nobody talks about. Officers aren't hunting for a crime on a routine stop, but the moment your answer sounds unsure, the moment it sounds like you don't actually know the facts of the vehicle you're sitting in, that uncertainty becomes its own kind of red flag. Not because you're guilty, because you're unclear, and unclear invites more questions. I'm Adam King. For years, I've stood in rooms where a single sentence, said the wrong way, in the wrong moment, reshaped an entire case. Not because someone broke the law, because someone didn't know how to talk about the law when it mattered most. I want to be clear about something before we go further. Most stops end exactly how they should. Quick check, nod, have a good night. You're back on the road in under a minute. This isn't about the stop that goes right. This is about the one that doesn't, and making sure that when it happens to you, you already know exactly what to say before your nerves ever get the chance to answer for you. Let's clear out the myths first, because these are exactly what get people talking too much, too fast. Myth 1. I need to explain everything so I don't look suspicious. Completely wrong. You are never required to over-explain your personal arrangements with a car. Honest and clear is not the same thing as long and detailed. The more you explain, the more there is to question. Myth 2. If it's not my car, none of this is on me. Also wrong, and this is the one that trips people up the most. The registered keeper carries certain responsibilities, like keeping the DVLA informed, but the person behind the wheel carries their own, including making sure they're actually insured to drive that specific car in that specific moment. Myth 3. Saying "I don't know" makes me look guilty. This is where the real mistake usually hides. Saying "I don't know" when you genuinely don't know is far safer than guessing out loud and being wrong. Calm uncertainty beats confident guessing every single time. Myth 4. It doesn't matter what I say. They already know everything. Wrong again. Checks run in the background, yes, but what you say out loud, in that moment, on that road, becomes part of the story of that stop. Your words carry weight, even when you don't feel like they should. And that's exactly where the real mistake comes later. Not in what the system already knows, in what you volunteer that you never needed to say. So here it is, the sentence, the one thing you came here for. Because there is one sentence, short, calm, complete, that changes everything about how this moment plays out. When an officer asks, "Who owns this car?" this is what you say. "I'm not the registered keeper. The vehicle belongs to name, and I have permission to drive it." That's it. Read it again, because every word in that sentence is doing something. It answers the question, it states only what you're certain of, and then it stops. It doesn't open 5 new doors about insurance details you're not sure of, or family arrangements that have nothing to do with why you were pulled over. Adam King. This was never about hiding anything. It's about saying only what you actually know to be true, and nothing you're guessing at. If the officer follows up on insurance, and you genuinely know you're covered, say it plainly. Yes, I'm insured to drive this vehicle. And if you're not certain, this is the part that saves people. Don't guess. Say, "I believe so, but I'm not certain of the exact policy details." That single sentence does something most drivers never expect. Here's exactly why it works. It's honest, it's calm, and it never creates a false statement you can't take back later. Guessing wrong out loud and stating it like fact is far more dangerous than simply admitting you're not sure. Let's go back to David, because David's story has a second version, the one that should have happened. Same stop, same question, same blue light in the mirror. But this time, David pauses, just half a second, and says, "It's my cousin's car. I have permission to drive it, and I'm insured on his policy as an additional driver." Same facts as before, completely different outcome. Officer, "All right, mind if I just check that quickly?" David, "Go ahead." A minute later, David's back on the road. Same situation, same car, same night. The only thing that changed was the sentence, and that one sentence was the difference between a stop that lingered and a stop that simply ended. Here's the part almost nobody explains, and it's the real reason that sentence works the way it does. The law treats things you know differently from things you're only guessing at. In plain English, when you say, "I have permission to drive it," and it's true, that's a fact. When you say, "I think I might be insured, I'm not totally sure," that's an uncertain belief. And if that belief turns out to be wrong, it can complicate things far more than simply saying, "I'm not sure, you'd need to check." The important part is this. You are never required to fill silence with guesses. You don't have to be a walking file of every detail about a car you didn't register yourself. You only have to be honest about what you know, and just as honest about what you don't. That single distinction, fact versus guess, is the quiet engine behind why that one sentence changes everything. Now the mistakes. The same 3, over and over, in almost every version of this story I've ever seen. Mistake 1, over-explaining. Nerves whisper the same lie to almost everyone. Talk more and you'll sound more innocent. It's the opposite. Every extra sentence is another thread for the conversation to pull on. Calm and brief beats nervous and detailed, every time. Mistake 2. Speaking for someone who isn't there. If the car belongs to your cousin, your partner, your parent, you cannot speak with certainty about their insurance, their intentions, their paperwork. Saying, "I'm sure it's fine," about a policy you've never actually seen is one of the most common, most avoidable mistakes on the road. Mistake 3. Treating silence like guilt. Some drivers feel like a pause makes them look suspicious, so they rush to fill it. It's the opposite. A short breath, followed by one calm, accurate sentence, reads as control, not guilt. Here's what happens when these mistakes stack up. The stop stretches, not because the officer suspects wrongdoing, but because nothing in front of them feels settled yet. And an unsettled stop is a stop that keeps going. Now let's talk about what's actually at stake here, because this is the part that makes people go quiet. If you're driving a vehicle and it turns out you're not insured to drive it, even if you truly believed you were, that isn't a small technicality you can shrug off. In the UK, driving without valid insurance can mean penalty points, a fine, and in some cases, the vehicle being seized right there on the roadside, in front of you. I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm telling you this so you understand exactly why that one sentence carries so much weight. Because the gap between "I'm insured, I'm certain of it," and "I believe I'm insured, though I haven't checked the exact terms," isn't just a difference in wording. It's the difference between walking away from that roadside in under a minute, or standing there long after your headlights have gone cold, wishing you'd said less. So let's go back to where we started. Blue light in your mirror, window down, torch beam sweeping the dashboard. The officer leans in. Who owns this car? You already know what that question really is now. It was never a trick. It was never an accusation. It was an opening. One moment where a short, honest, fact-based sentence keeps everything calm, brief, and exactly as routine as it was always supposed to be. You say the name of the real owner. You state, simply, that you have permission. And if you know you're insured, you say so plainly. If you don't, you say that plainly too. One sentence. Calm, clear, true. That's the entire difference between a night that ends the moment your window goes back up and one that doesn't. If you found this helpful, subscribe, because every week I break down real legal situations in plain English. So if you ever face one yourself, you'll already know exactly what to do. I'm Adam King. Stay calm, know your rights, and I'll see you in the next one.